Hey YouTube, it's Dina. Um, Today I was supposed to be doing the Book of Shadows video, but given the extensive notes that I've got, we may have to split this up a little bit because in my opinion, the Book of Shadows is probably one of the most important parts of paganism witchcraft. So really we're going to have to break it up a little bit into the function of it, the construction of it, and the contents of it. So I realize that YouTube allows for longer videos now, but I don't think anybody wants to have to sit through like 20 minutes of me just yammering on about the same thing. So we're going to break this up. Let's talk about the function. The function of the Book of Shadows is pretty multifaceted. It is, you've probably heard the term in reference to a witch's spellbook, and that certainly can be the case. I think the most important part of the Book of Shadows, and the reason that I put it first, is the journal for reflections. When you're working out how things work in your mind, how things feel to you, what you believe, it's important to be able to get those thoughts down. Now, these videos are coming at a very opportune time because I'm having to remake my Book of Shadows. I wasn't keeping one for a little while. All I have is the most important part to me, which is the journal. And that's because I've gone through a lot of like big shifts in my belief system in the last few years. So I've got like a stack of notebooks about this tall chronicling that change. And basically anytime that I felt like I needed to sit down and reflect, think about what I believed, what I didn't believe, sort of my thoughts, I wrote it down. Anything that had to do with things that I was using, things that, thinking like, okay, I probably won't do much because like my handwriting is wretched. But any experience that you go through would be well put in your journal. And in my case, I didn't come to my deist beliefs overnight. I have studied a lot of faiths, and so I would write down, this is what makes sense to me from this faith, this is what makes sense to me from this faith, this is what doesn't make sense to me. And from there, that's where I figured out where I stand, because I was able to look back at all these little like essays I'd written and, you know, just piece it together from that. And it works for a lot of other things too. Like it, you can use it when you're thinking of a spell and you just want to write down, I want to do a love spell. When I think of a love spell, I think of these colors. When I think of a love spell, I think of this scent. I think of this movie which had this visual image that sticks in my mind. Like you saw a movie that had a lot of roses in it to symbolize love, and you think, wow, that really meant a lot to me. So you think, well, rose candles, maybe a rose scented candle, rose shaped candle, you know, things like that. And so when you start making your spell, you look back at that page and go, okay, this is what I need to make this spell work for me. You know, it's all about exploration and learning and finding out how things work for you. So the journal for me is the most important part. Other things you might want in your Book of Shadows, we'll get into more in depth in the content section, but there's a lot of things that a witch needs to keep track of. And if you're going in for the witchcraft section of paganism, which if you're here, you probably are, there are a lot of things that you need to keep straight. Like mine is set up into several sections. There's the journal section, which, as I said, is my most important part. A divination section, which also, if you're interested in dreams and learning to use dream divination or lucid dreaming, You might want to start that as soon as possible as well. Just stick a spiral notebook by your bed, and we'll come to that later. But between here and then, if you want to start recording your dreams, do that right away. There's no time like the present. But dream journal. There's something called a grimoire. Some witches will put their spells separately from their Book of Shadows. Like their Book of Shadows is for reflection, and their grimoire is for spells. You can do it either way. And in the official section, which has things that don't really require changing much, like things like that's a good example. Like writing out the laws of your tradition, like whatever you believe considers acceptable behavior, recipes, holiday stuff, correspondences, tables, alphabets, any of that stuff that's going to remain fairly static. It's just there for references. That's a good one. There are a lot of things that you can put into your Book of Shadows, and it's important to keep it organized, because otherwise you end up with big stacks of paper and loose leaf notebooks and spirals and stuff like that. And trust me, it does not make for an easy time. All right, once you have your Book of Shadows into an organized form, you'll find things are a little more easy, especially like when you're in the beginning and you're doing a lot of just thinking and then getting those thoughts on paper. It can really help.